Welcome to Brazil Bound, presented by Castrol GTX High Mileage with former U.S. men's national team assistant coach Jesse Marsch. I'm Jason Saghini, and this weekend we saw the U.S. with a 2-1 victory over Nigeria. And Jesse, you say you've seen the recipe for success for the U.S. in Brazil. Explain what you mean there.
Yeah, well, first of all, it was a great performance, and one as U.S. fans that I think we can wrap our hearts and minds around. And it's interesting that Jurgen Klinsmann said earlier in the week that formations don't matter. And I would contest that theory and say actually the formation and the tactics are what made us successful. And I think now our ability to come back and have a little bit more of a defensive shape, clog up any passing lanes in the midfield, win the ball, play forward quickly, and catch them on transition is what made us successful against Nigeria, and it's what will make us successful down in Brazil as well.
It seemed drastically different from what we saw against Turkey last weekend, and a lot of the players and Jurgen talked about, we went to the whiteboard, we talked about the tactics, we figured out what the roles would be. The question is, why did it take until the final send-off game for them to get this organized?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. And for me, the better the game is, the more important the tactics and the formations are. And it's mostly because it gives the players clarity as to what their roles are and what the relationships are with the players around them on the field. So when you watch this game, it was the first game now in this warm-up series where I felt like everybody on the field knew what to do, knew how to play with the guy next to him, and knew how to play to their strengths.
All right, if we found the recipe for success, let's take a look at what they did in that game against Nigeria defensively and on the attack, because really it looked like two different formations. It was a little bit of a 4-3-2-1 on the defensive side, and then you saw that diamond in the attack.
Yeah, and what you'll see here is that Clint Dempsey came back off of his forward line to almost be in line with Michael Bradley. He shared that role with Josie Altidore at times when Clint had moved around in the attack and he came back. But more often than not, you'll see Clint come back in here and form the two ahead of the three. And the function of that is to try and close down passing lanes and gaps through the middle of the field and then ultimately force the other team into wide positions.
All right, when you force the ball out wide, then what happens next?
Well, you'll see in those moments that the outside back will start to step up and pressure the ball. In this moment, it's DeMarcus Beasley. And you'll see the entire midfield start to collapse over there and really try to keep the ball over in that side of the field and eliminate any options through the team. At the same time, the guys that are ahead of the ball will start to close off things there and also be options now to play forward once we win it.
In the post-game press conference, Klinsmann talked about the first 20 minutes, they win the ball and they didn't really know what to do. But then it kind of opened up. So what happens once they win the ball? How do you now transition into the attack?
Well, for sure, one of the examples is the second goal, okay? And the ball came into DeMarcus's area. He stepped in and won it and played forward in the same motion, which is important. He found Jermaine Jones, who then found Michael Bradley in space, and now guys were off on the run, specifically Josie. Great ball into him, great finish. But you also saw that while he was shooting, Clint was getting forward, Michael was still trying to be an option, and throughout the game you saw Jermaine using his mobility, Bedoya, and the two outside mid-backs. So you will see the team now in transition start to really explode and go forward.
Klinsmann mentioned the width when they got into the attack. But when I look at this, I see a lot of arrows going forward, which could leave you exposed if you make a bad pass in the middle of the field. So what do they do on the defensive side here?
Well, for sure, Kyle Beckerman's performance and role is paramount in this. And he needs to now know that when things are happening ahead of him, how to balance the team out to make sure that if we do lose the ball in transition, that he can quickly cut out any options. And at the same time, he's going to have to continue to communicate with other guys around him to make sure that now there aren't 7 guys running forward. That at times he's going to have to call DeMarcus back, Bedoya back, whoever, so that there is balance in the team and that we're not susceptible to a counterattack against us when we're in transition.
Okay, and you can't expect to play 90 minutes full of transition soccer both ways. So when the U.S. has the ball, what is their attack going to look like?
Yeah, you're still going to see moments now where the outside backs start to space out and push up the field. And in these moments, you'll see the diamond in the midfield with Michael ahead, and Clint will be up with Josie. Michael will come back sometimes to help start to build and initiate attack and little rotations in the midfield. But ultimately, it's been good for the team when he's been around the 18 and able to combine with different guys, using the outside backs and using Josie and Clint with their cleverness and their ability around the goal to score.
All right, we'll see if the U.S. has found that true recipe for success when they get down to Brazil. And stay tuned to MLSsoccer.com this week, because we're going to have our full tournament preview coming out over the next couple of days. And also on Sunday, we're going to have a live preview show for the U.S.-Ghana game. Stay tuned to MLSsoccer.com this week for more details on that.